Bienvenidos. Bienvenidos. Al 49erscast. Al 49erscast.
And we are with Jimmy Garoppolo, a sports journalist, extremely handsome, outwardly rich, and mediocre at his job. And if you don't know who I'm talking about, you need to go to Twitter and his YouTube channel. He has over, how much, remind us, please? You brag a lot about it.
I got about 30,000 followers on Twitter, discerning 49er fans who know a good source of information when they see one, like you.
Yes, of course. And also, he is an insider for the 49ers with Sports Illustrated, and he also reports for online sports columnists and for Santa Rosa Press.
I used to. I don't anymore, but that's where I got my start. I was there for 10 years. Where I used to write about all kind of stuff.
Man, you need to
update my thing, huh? I know. So I haven't looked at LinkedIn in years. I got to do something with that.
Yes, because even your picture seems like a freshman picture.
It was. I was 23 in that picture. I'm 34 now. I need a new picture.
And I got that information from it. And I'm so excited to have you here. Usually, I'm his guest in his fun. Now yes. You are in my field.
That's right. That's right.
And my first question is, how do you made it to the 49ers as their insider?
Say one more time. You broke up a little bit.
Tell us about yourself and how you made it to work with the 49ers as their insider for Sports Illustrated.
Sure. I've been doing this since I was 23. I was a freelance writer coming out of college. I used to write about all teams for NBC Sports Bay Area. And I got an opportunity covering the 49ers for the Santa Rosa Press Democrat, which it was just a blog. I mean, I didn't even write for the newspaper. They paid me $1,000 a month. And I lived at home with my parents. And that's what I did for a long time. I've been covering the team pretty much since I got out of college. And I was really unpopular for a long time. Didn't have that many. I had about 5,000 followers until I want to say 2019. Niner fans really weren't into it. But I guess, I don't know what happened. I guess going on, I used to do periscopes. I do live streams. It seemed like Niner fans like to interact with me that way. Ever since I figured that out, things have been different. So that's what I do.
And do you think that your styles ruffle up a bit of feathers within the organization?
With my style, what?
Do you think the team likes your style? Like you're a little bit rough with them, like in some way you are people's spokesperson. You talk a lot of their feelings.
Yeah, well, I think it's probably a fair amount of people in the organization don't like me. I'm critical, but like, for example, Jimmy Ward, I interviewed him last year and he talked about this and he said, I don't really mind Grant being critical. He seems to like it. Remember after the Rams game, he went to the post-game press conference. It was like, Grant. I don't think they really mind too much. I don't know how Al Shanahan feels, but I feel like if a player hates me, that means they probably can't prove me wrong. You know, Jimmy Ward was like, I could prove him wrong easily. And why would he, you know, and I always smile like, what do you think of me now, Grant? I'm like, well, I really respect you. You're terrific. So I don't think they really, I don't know. I haven't been in the locker room in 2 years because of COVID. So I would have a better answer if I could stand there and feel the stares. But now it's all over Zoom.
Yeah, and now talking about your style, why do you think you're so popular with the fans?
Because I think they like how interactive I am. I don't think they like my opinions half the time. I think they find that even though I can push their buttons on Twitter, I'm pretty approachable on YouTube, and I'll bring people onto my platform. I make it all very interactive. If someone says, hey, Grant, ask this question in a press conference, I'll do it. I think I make people feel like they're part of the process. And, if you don't like what I have to say, you're always free to call in on the Cohn phone and tell me. And so far, everyone's been very nice to me. So maybe that's part of it.
So one of us.
For example, you don't like most of the stuff I tweet about Jimmy Garoppolo, but you don't like it at all. But at the same time, we talk, and you can come on the Cohn phone, and we have a friendly relationship. So that seems to be kind of like my relationship with a lot of Niner fans. You might hate me, but you really hate me.
No, I don't. No, I mean, when you tweet something about Jimmy, my take is how can I make this tweet dumber? How can make this tweet laughable? And sometimes it happens, other times people doesn't get it, but it's not like I'm mad, because like I say to you 1,000 times, football is not for being taken personal.
Right. It's not that big of a deal. Absolutely.
Yeah. Anything to ask?
Yeah. Hello. First, I need to sorry myself because my English is a little rusty, and I think in my mind that I am sounding like Michael Caine, and probably I'm sounding like Cheech and Chang.
No, you're great. You're doing phenomenal. You're doing a great job. You're doing great.
You.
Yeah.
Okay. This first question I have to you can be a little tricky, but before I make the question, I want to direct you where I'm going to take you in some time. This question I am going to question blah. Sorry. I'm gonna repeat you the next year when Trey Lance will play. Okay. Then we all know that advanced statistics can be used depending on the reading that favors the argument of who is using them. So it's being able to measure Jimmy Garoppolo statistically, and that can become ambiguous. What statistics do you take into account to qualify Garoppolo? Will this be the same statistics that will be used on Trey Lance next year?
Yeah, that's okay. Fair. That's really interesting. I think Jimmy Garoppolo's statistics are decent. They're like in line with the league averages, or maybe even better. And I think a lot of that has to do with Kyle Shanahan, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk. I think there's a really, really good team here. And I think most quarterbacks would probably inflate most quarterbacks' numbers. So Jimmy had 20 touchdown passes and 12 picks this year. That's a pretty important number, that touchdown to interception ratio. Jimmy's always had high completion percentages. And I don't know if Trey Lance will have this as high of a completion percentage as Jimmy, but I think he'll throw more touchdown passes, fewer interceptions, probably more yards per attempt. Those statistics, yards per attempt, rushing yards, rushing touchdowns, passing touchdowns, and most importantly, turnovers, because Jimmy Garoppolo commits so many turnovers that the Niners feel compelled to run the ball as much as possible and throw the ball as little as possible. And I think if they didn't feel that their quarterback was so mistake prone, they wouldn't necessarily do that all the time. So interceptions, turnovers. Good question.
Aldara?
Loved it.
Sigo. Okay. I'm going to lend you these 3 saves. Okay. You can save one of these to prevent someone from leaving the team. You can use a save on coaching staff, on front office, or players. These three persons can't leave the team. So who are those three persons that can't leave the team? Who are on who are you using your saves?
Okay. Probably Debo. Debo would be one. Bosa would probably be another at this point for right now. I think probably Bosa. Okay, Williams, maybe the left tackle, those three. Although the defensive line coach is really important too. The running back coach is really important too. That's tough. But maybe those three players.
Only on players, you don't mind on the McRyans, you don't mind on what's the name of the
Mike McDaniel.
No, the right hand of Johnny Lynch.
Adam Peters.
Adam Peters, thank you. You don't think that you can use those saves on personnel that no are players necessarily?
Who would you put it on? I'd love to know who you would put it on.
Okay.
Yeah. Who would you give your three saves to?
Surely I take the McRyan, Adam Peters, and Debo Samuel. Now you ask me three players, and I'm with you, Trent, Debo, and Nick Bosa.
No, I definitely see what you're saying. If you wanted to take one person from the front office, one person from the coaching staff, and one person from the team, I think you might have picked the three right ones. Only thing I would say is D'Amico has been good. Robert Saleh was good. Maybe the fact that Chris Koserk is there as the defensive line coach, I know he's not a coordinator, but maybe he makes coordinators' jobs easier because he's so good at getting that pass rush going. Something to think about. Maybe he's the common denominator on defense. But I hear you. You want to keep someone because that defense is so good, and that's really been the strength of the team since Kyle got here. The defense, the last 3 years. Yeah, absolutely. That was a fun game.
Yeah, thank you.
I liked it. That was a good one. I'm going to steal that for my channel.
You're hot.
You just have to give us credit. You have to say, my friends in Mexico show me this game.
I will say my friends in Mexico. Yes.
Oh, by the way, if the Niners are playing here, are you coming?
I would think so. Yeah, I would think so. Are you in Mexico City?
I don't live in Mexico City, but my dad used to say, if they're playing here, we're going.
All right.
We cannot miss it.
Well, that would be fun. I'm not sure that they are playing there. Okay, I don't know when we'll find out. I guess April.
The rumor says next week. The rumor says next week, but we don't know.
All right.
You will see. You will hear it from me. I promise.
Yeah.
At the end of our meeting, I'm going to give you my last question. I'm giving you the question right now, but you can think it because it's a personal, not related to 49ers.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you an anecdote, a nice story that you have on 49 seconds or less. So you can think.
Go thinking about it.
Yeah.
The nicest story from covering the team?
Yes, in 90 seconds or less.
In 90 seconds or less?
49 seconds.
99 seconds.
49 seconds.
Man, this is a tough one. Do I get some time to think about it?
Yes, you have time.
You're good.
Stan, your mic is off.
Yeah, no problem. Grant, well, first of all, thank you for being here. I have a quick question. Considering how the Shanahan's term has been around for these 5 years, we have seen lows and highs. The lows have been pretty low, like 2 wins, 6 wins, and the highs have been pretty high, like Super Bowl and National Conference Championship. What would be a case when you can, how could I say, think that his power or his liability could end? Like, this is the reason why Shanahan can be fired in the near future, because as much as Garoppolo has been hated around, there are people that hate Shanahan as well, because he can win the big game, he's a choker, or stuff like that. What do you think could take that decision? Like, this is the last time for Shanahan, like, we should fire him right now. What would it take?
Two things. I mean, one, let's say the Niners trade Jimmy Garoppolo to the Steelers, right? And the Steelers, let's say he does well and he stays healthy and they win, and the Niners struggle with Trey Lance. That's a quick way to get fired right there. Okay. But I don't really expect that to happen, but that would be one way. And then the other would be if he keeps blowing 10-point leads in big games. I mean, he said it 3 times now. How many times do you do it? Does he do it before you say that's just who he's destined to be, is who he is what he's destined to do? I don't know. So those would be the two, I guess. If he keeps choking in big games, or if he gets rid of Jimmy Garoppolo and the Trey Lance era doesn't lead to success. That one.
Okay. And one more question, just from me. If you were, let me change it. What do you think that Garoppolo is going to be traded, and what would be the best destination for him among all the teams that had been mentioned?
Yeah, I think the Niners seem confident they're going to trade him. It seems like a team like Pittsburgh Steelers would make sense, because they're a team that has an excellent defense. They just spent a first-round pick on a running back last year. They're built to win now. They may not feel comfortable handing their team to a rookie, just like the Niners weren't. And as far as why they might work with Jimmy, like, any team that works with Jimmy is going to have to be committed to running the ball, because the more you throw it, the more he turns it over. So with them, that's another team that wants to run the ball as much as possible. That's what Pittsburgh's normally like. They have this running back, Najee Harris, who can run the ball a lot. They might feel that they can do the same thing, sort of have the same recipe for success with Jimmy that the Niners do. Good defense, good run game. I just don't know what the Niners are going to get for him, because he gets hurt. Even if Jimmy does what he's supposed to do, he could get hurt multiple times throughout the season, and then his backup matters. So if you invest in him, you got to invest. It's almost like a package deal. You got to get a backup too who's good. So I'd be surprised if the Niners could get more than a 3rd-round pick in exchange for Jimmy. If they did, I'd be really amazed. I think what they might do is maybe a future pick that's contingent on how much he plays. Like, if he plays and starts most of the season, then it's a 2nd-round pick. But if he misses time, then it's a 3rd-round pick. But maybe something like that. That's the best I can think.
Okay. Well, thank you, Grant.
Yeah. Cool.
With that answer that you gave us,
Yes.
I feel pretty not comfortable, but I feel okay. My idea all these years is that quarterbacks that are ¿cómo se dice titular? Se me olvidó.
Starting, correct.
Thank you. Yeah, the starting quarterbacks in the market, in my idea all these years, has been 1st round, because we saw it with Carson Wentz. We saw it a 2nd round with Sam Darnold. I feel that San Francisco can find a trade with an early 2nd round, maybe a late 1st round. You don't think at all, right?
I don't think so at all. But I could be wrong. I have no idea. I think the Niners are hopeful, but I don't think they're going to get more than a third round pick for him. I mean, he's so bad in the playoffs. Sorry, I mean, he was really bad in the playoffs. He's good in the regular season. He gets hurt. He had multiple injuries by the end of the season. He got hurt earlier in the year. I don't know. I know that Sam Darnold and Wentz went for more. It seems to me that really what's going to happen is the Niners are going to have to wait for something to happen with Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson, because those two quarterbacks could be moving. Yeah. And those are going to be the top targets for teams. So once those two guys have decided where they're going to play, then it'll be Jimmy Garoppolo's turn. So I guess we'll have to see. What if Aaron Rodgers goes to the Pittsburgh Steelers? What if Russell Wilson goes to the Steelers? Then we'll have to I mean, maybe Garoppolo goes to Seattle. I don't know. We'll have to see.
Okay.
Yeah.
You broke me with that one. Don't whisper to the universe, please.
If you went to the Seahawks, would you become a Seahawks fan?
I hate the Seahawks.
But you love Jim?
Yeah.
Not at all.
You think that the place that would make me? I mean, like, no, impossible. Amor prohibido. Amor prohibido. Now it's time for our followers and community to ask you questions.
Sure.
The first one is probably my favorite one, because ask you for your favorite moment as a fan with your dad.
Oh, well, I haven't been a fan since I started covering the team. But when I was a kid, I was a fan, and my dad introduced me to Steve Young when I was 7. They had just won the Super Bowl, and they brought me down to the facility, and I got to sit and interview Steve Young for 10 minutes when I was 7. I asked him how to throw a spiral, and because I had really tiny hands back as a 7-year-old, still have small hands, kind of. But I was really impressed that he could throw a football. It seemed impossible. And he got me Jerry Rice's autograph and Brent Jones's autograph. That was one of the best days of my life. And I was a true fan that day. I loved Steve Young. Those were like the heroes of the world to me, 49ers, when I was a kid.
What happened to that young Grant?
He grew up, and I think a lot of people, their fandom is something that they inherited from their parents. It's a way to bond with one of your parents. And my dad was just like me. I mean, he's a sports writer too. He was from Brooklyn. He was not a fan of Bay Area teams. So my way of bonding with my dad was this, not fandom. Yeah.
I bond with my dad through football.
There you go. There you go.
I mean, he is the original faithful in his family. And someone is asked you for a time frame before you start asking to trade Trey Lance and fire Kyle Shanahan.
Look, I said the Niners should draft Trey Lance. I said they should play him as a rookie. I'm all in with Trey Lance. If he struggles, I'm blaming the coach. I think he's going to be good. I think he should be. I thought he was good against Houston. I'm not really concerned about Trey Lance. I think he's going to be good. I think he is good. But maybe I'm wrong. I've seen him play a lot. I saw him play all throughout training camp. I saw him play a couple of times in the regular season. I think he's going to be good. Kyle, my question with him is just, I know you can get to the NFC Championship game. I know you can get to the Super Bowl. Can you finish the deal once? And I just can't get over the fact that the reason the Niners aren't playing in the Super Bowl this year is because Kyle forgot to get the ball to Debo down the stretch. Like, really? You didn't forget the last week? You always knew to get the ball to Debo when you needed to, but this week you forgot. Like, what happened, man? What happened? I don't get it. So how can you trust someone like that? I don't know how you trust him.
I don't trust anyone, if I'm honest.
You don't trust anyone. That's the point. There you go. There you go.
I mean, the only person I trust is not a person itself. It's the 49ers. And it's not a person. It's a thing. And who you send via trade plus Jimmy to get us picks?
One more time.
Who will sell it away into the ocean in interchange of picks, draft picks?
Who will send picks to the Niners for Jimmy Garoppolo? Well, again, there are teams that need starters, but they're going to be looking for Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson first. So teams that miss out on those guys and don't want to start a rookie, that's where Jimmy fits in. The team that doesn't want to start a rookie but doesn't have Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson, I don't know what team that's going to be yet. It could be Pittsburgh, although Pittsburgh could get Rodgers. They could get Wilson. That's where I would start. I would aim high if I were them.
This is not a question. I mean, I know how probably you're going to reply it because I know you. And he says, why are you a pain in someone? S. And I say, and you're going to say, if I'm right, if I'm wrong, that you're not here to be liked.
Yeah, just be myself. That's who I am.
Yes,
Be myself.
I know you. I know you.
I am.
He said,
I mean, I'm not, I don't know. It seems to work. I don't know. If you don't like my style, that's fine. But it seems like people who don't like my style watch me anyway. I don't know.
yeah, I mean, I can say that even if they don't like you, they know what you're going on.
That's my New Year's resolution, to be less obnoxious, but I'm failing.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I have to ask you because he said, you have to ask him as a challenge for me. Like, you're not going to ask him that. But I did. And someone is congratulating you for giving you platform for new talent in this media. Like,
Thank you.
And they think that it's very laudable and word of clapping.
Well, thank you. I think that's what's fun about the Cohn phone. People call in, people have courage, they put themselves in the line, and all of a sudden stars are born. Look at you.
Yay!
Cohn phone Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Cohn phone Hall of Famer, Aldara.
Yes, I am.
Right.
And friendships is formed there.
True. Absolutely. Yep. And it makes us feel like we're all kind of a little bit of a community.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you do a great job providing more voices for those who want to hear them. I mean, you have such a different kind of group. I mean, you have Jason, Sevilla. Yes,
Sibilla.
you have Bish. You collaborate a lot of people, and even in the articles. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Jose.
Me too. He's great. And one thing I try to pride myself on is I don't want to force people I work with to have the same opinions as me. I like having a group of people that think differently, because I've seen groups of where you kind of have to like be a step, almost like a cult. Now I like that. I don't think you got to encourage a difference of opinion. You got to encourage that.
Yes, I mean, people ask me why, if I'm such a Jimmy fan, I can get along with you. But I think that I can only hear people that think like me, because then it's like an echo chamber. It's like, but yeah. Then
yes.
They think like you, and you're like, yes, this is the only possible opinion. And it's time. It's almost 30 minutes, and Jeff really wants your 49er story in 49 seconds. I'm going to set timer. Wait, because I'm here to challenge you, man. I'm here.
You're so bad, Aldara. You're so bad.
We're friends. We all are friends.
Here's my little story. So I've been covering the team since 2011. Jim Harbaugh was the coach. He's very intimidating. I was 23, he was 50, and journalists were terrified of him. He didn't talk to me or address me by name for 2 years. 2013, they started off 2-0, I believe, and they were going to play the Colts at home. Everyone picked them to win that game. Alden Smith got a car accident right before the game. They played him anyway. I picked the Niners to lose. I would think I was the only person who picked them to lose. They lost. Andrew Luck beat him. A couple days later in the locker room, Jim Harbaugh walks over to me like he knows me. Says, "Hey, Grant, how you doing?" Stands there with his mouth open, his hands on his hips like he does. And I was terrified. I thought he was going to say, like, "Who the hell do you think you are picking against us?" And all he wanted to know was like, "So what are you doing this weekend? How's life?" Like we'd had this conversation, like we had been friends forever. And it was very strange. I didn't know what it meant. But years later, to me, it was him saying, "Respect. You were right. It must have been tough to go out on a limb, and you're all right with me. It's on us. We should have won." And that's how I got to have a relationship with Jim Harbaugh, by picking the Niners to lose and being right.
Great story.
Yeah, that was awesome. I have a pretty poor opinion about Harbaugh, but that story is pretty cool. Thank you, Grant.
All of a sudden, I was like A-okay with him, and all because I picked him to lose and was right. It's like he has respect for something. You can't get his respect by being nice to him. You have to challenge him. His whole life vision is me against you. And I beat him one time, and he was like, "You know what? I respect you." It was the weirdest thing. I've never had a relationship start that way. But that's Jim Harbaugh. That's Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah, I'm still like the Steve Young story.
What's that?
I still like the Steve Young story. It's more cuter.
Well, thanks for having me on your show.
Yes, thank you for joining us. I mean,
Of course.
You were so receptive, and you said, "Yes, let's do it." And
Of course.
I love that. It's amazing to have someone inside the team wanting to join someone so far away.
Sometime too.
Yeah.
Let me know. We could definitely do it. Yes.
Just say it.
Thank you, Grant, and I hope we can see you and meet you if 49ers come to Mexico.
I would love that.
Next month to come.
I would love that. Fingers crossed. It was a pleasure to meet you. This was a lot of fun. Please send me I'd like the link when it's live so I can see it. I'd like to see the finished product.
Yeah,
I will.
No problem.
You know
We will.
I will. Bye.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Grant. Have a nice week.
Hola. See you.